All right, we've got a Polaris Trailblazer 250 2x4, not the 4x4 version. This is a two-stroke quad, and as you saw, it's not running right. I feel like it's low in compression. I feel like the rings are maybe burnt out on it, and it's just not staying running. It's running inconsistently. It doesn't start back up when it's warm. Something's going on with it. I have a feeling it's probably the rings are stuck to the piston, causing low compression, but I'm not 100% sure. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be rebuilding this whole quad, at least the top end, with this. This is Niche Industries piston kit and cylinder kit. And then we've got a air filter as well. This piston and cylinder gets a bunch of crap for being, poor quality, saying it doesn't last very long, saying they're kind of crappy. We're going to test it out today and see if it holds up on this thing. I've heard from a couple people that, the piston rings are crap on it, don't buy this, don't use these in your machines, but let's install it and find out if they're actually decent. And we'll do a couple test rides on it, make sure it's all good to go. We'll find out today if these actually work. So I've heard a couple people online say they've lasted for years. I've seen some people say they've lasted 10 minutes. So I guess if you guys want to find out how to install this kit, stay tuned. It should be pretty interesting. We're going to start tearing into this thing right away. Probably going to start with a compression test and get that done. See what it's got for compression, because I have a feeling it's low. And then we'll probably clean out the carburetor and stuff like that. But I think today we're going to focus on installing the kit and probably attempting the first start. So let's get on to the video. We've got a lot to get done. Oh, by the way, these plastics were painted brand new with automotive paint. They look really, really nice. And the seat cover was just redone. So yeah, it's a cool looking quad. It deserves to run right. So let's try to install this kit and see what happens. All right, we're gonna start by taking out the seat, probably taking out the gas tank, and then doing a compression test. So let's start with that. To get off the gas tank, it looks like we've got to take off the front plastics. They're held on by all these bolts along here, and then these two bolts, and then same for the other side. And then to get the piston and cylinder off this thing, unfortunately you have to take out the clutch, so you need a specific clutch tool. So we happen to have that from building one of these before. So you just take off the clutch cover and then the clutch backing plate, and then you can get to the cylinder. Because you can see the cylinder bolts are right here, and you can't get to them or can't twist them off without getting that clutch off. So it's kind of a big job, but it'll be worth it if it runs like brand new. All right, this piece I can't get off right here. So it's like pinned down, but we've got the gas tank like half out. Trying to get the rest of it out. Now we've got access to the spark plug right in there. So we can get that out and do a compression test. It'd be nice to get this plastic off of here. Let's see if I can maneuver it around. Try to do that. A lot easier to work on. That was a little tricky to get off, but we got her done. I don't think there's any decompression valves on it or anything, so whatever the reading is should be true. See what the plug looks like. Can't tell us how it was running. Looks pretty brown to me. Hard to show on camera, but it's a very dark brown. It's not black, It's definitely brown. So, wasn't running too bad, which is good. So I'm guessing the carburetor is jetted correctly. Let's see what we got for compression now. All right, we're gonna do throttle open. Gotta turn her on. Let's see if it still turns on here. And then throttle open. I think we're in neutral. Let's see what we get. Keep an eye right here on the gauge. So yeah, it's definitely low compression. You can see a little less than 100. About 95 pounds of compression. So it definitely probably needs rings at the bare minimum. So that's what I kind of figured. I think next we'll have to take out the carburetor, the pipe. Let's see here. I think the pipe will come off easy enough. It just detaches right here into the cylinder right there. Does this crossbar come off? Doesn't look like it. And then we'll take the air box out, held on by one bolt right there, and the carb should just pull out with that. And then we'll get to the clutch area. So it's not too bad of a job, but having to take off the clutch is just extra. Polaris doesn't use metric. Kind of hard to get to. It off. Oil line connected to it. There we go. Get this guy out. And the choke needs to come off. Choke cable off. All right, that's all clear in there. Let's get this little front pipe off next. Couple springs. And one right here. Spring on the other side. All right, now it's come off. Now it looks like we have pretty much everything out of the way except for the clutch. So let's go over here and work on the clutch side. All right, this footrest had to come off so you can move it around like that. 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Now we've got the clutch cover that's gonna be coming off. So these are like 3/8 inch. Yep. And those screws look like that. There's a bunch of them around there. You gotta take off. You gotta take off every single one. Clutch cover comes off like that. And then we gotta get the secondary and primary clutch off. So this one will just come right off. It'll come off like that. Then it will just pull right off. Get this out of the way. Take the belt off. So that's off of there. Belt's off. That'll come off like that. And there's that washer in there as well, or the spacer I should say. So then we're gonna put the puller in there, and that should pop right off. All right, so this is what the puller looks like. Basically a big bolt that's gonna go through the clutch. I think this one's gonna fit. Hopefully. You just twist it in here, and it'll bottom out. I think it will. There. Then you just use the impact like this. Clutch pops right off. Easy. So that clutch is off of there. Invest in the puller, otherwise it's going to take you forever to get that off. There's this plate back here that we need to get off. Pull it off like that. And this is going to be going this way. It can only really go on one way, but the little cutout part, it's towards the rear. And I believe there's a couple 3/8. Excuse me. That. All right, now this thing's like pretty much completely disassembled here. You can see everything's off of it. Now we have access to the whole top of the head, and this is the bolt that you couldn't get to if you didn't take up the clutch. See that nut right there? You wouldn't be able to twist that off if you didn't have the clutch off. But everything's looking good. We're just going to take off the cylinder next and the head, and then we'll check out the piston, check out the crank, all that fun stuff. Gotta get this thing out of the way too, but let's get off the head first. I think it's mounted right here as well. Something is. Is that the coil? Oh, it's ground. Gotta get that off. All right, let's get the head off next. 12mm nuts on the top here. Should pop right off. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. Pretty smooth in there yet. Top of the piston has a little bit of carbon buildup. Not horrible. We'll get the rest of the cylinder off. And we'll check out that piston. All right, last one. All right, cylinder's off. Take a look at the piston. Rings don't look too bad. They're not stuck to it at all. They may be a little worn out, but doesn't look too bad in there. How's the crank feel? Smooth, very smooth. So, get that piston off there, take a closer look at the piston, and then we'll take a look at the cylinder and the crank. Make sure the crank's good before we reinstall the new kit. Then we'll take a close look at the niche kit and see what that looks like. All right, we got the piston off of here and taking a close look at the crank here. There's some side to side play, but no up and down. So to test the up and down, you just go hold it like this and then push up and down, and there's no up and down play. So rod bearings look good. The crank rotates really smoothly in there. The crank looks all good. I started ripping off some of the gasket, the base gasket. So we'll clean all that stuff up with a razor blade, get the brand new gasket on there, and that'll be all set, ready for the new cylinder. Let's take a look at the old piston here quick. Here's the bearing. Looks good. And here's the piston. You can see there's some blow-by from the rings, pretty bad actually right there. So it was letting some compression through. You can see a little crusty in between the rings there. Lots of blow-by right here. No scratches on the piston or anything there that big. One right there. But overall it doesn't look too bad. I'm guessing the rings are pretty worn. That's why you were getting that blow-by. So that's what the piston looks like. Let's take a look at the cylinder. Cylinder right here. Gasket on the top looks good. Cylinder wall looks pretty good in there. See if there's any scratches. Just gonna feel with my finger. I don't see any scratches yet. No scratches on it. So all that looks good. So cylinder was good, no scratches, but we're gonna still use the new one. So we're probably gonna have to transfer all this stuff over to the new cylinder. We'll take a look at the new one. But that's the marking on it right there. So yeah, overall not too bad. Probably just needed some new piston rings, but we'll install the whole new kit and see how that works. But yeah, let's get this cleaned up, get the new gasket on there. We've got a gasket kit it came with. Let's see, where's the gasket kit? Somewhere in here. Piston, cylinder. Here's the gasket kit for it. So there's the base gasket, head gasket, and then the gasket for, I believe it's for the exhaust right here. Alright, just got done cleaning the base gasket area. So I took a razor blade, took off the old gasket, and then I cleaned it off with brake cleaner so that the new gasket seals nice and tight to that base. We're going to put a thin layer of gasket maker down before we put the gasket on. I like to do that with all my machines to prevent any type of imperfection leaks. So say there's like a tiny scratch that you can't see, it'll prevent that from leaking. However, the base gasket itself would not. So I always like to do that for reassurance. So we're going to do that next, and then we'll take a look at the new cylinder and the piston. Alright, just going to put a very, very, very thin film of gasket maker on here. Very thin. You do not want that too thick. On one way, I imagine. Looks good. Push it down, seal her down like that. Alright, gasket's installed, looking nice and clean. Alright, let's take a look at the new piston here, see what that looks like. Here are the rings for it. Take a look at the rings. Probably gonna have to measure the ring gap. Guess you really can't do anything about it either way, but that's what those rings look like. Oh, it comes with a new wrist pin too. So here's the wrist pin bearing, wrist pin, and then you've got little clips. See what the piston looks like. I might use the OEM one. I don't know if I'm gonna install this one. I feel like these bearings are cheaply made, so we might install the original. I've heard of these going bad, so that's usually the breaking point. So I recommend maybe updating this, getting the OEM one of these for the bearings, and then installing the rest of the kit, because I'm pretty sure this is the weak point. At least that's what I'm gonna do. Take a look at the piston here. Ooh, shiny. Very nice. That's what the box looks like here. Take a look. Oh, it comes with the studs already in it. That's nice. It's already honed. Looks pretty good. Doesn't look too bad. Brand new. So that's all set to go. I was just looking for any imperfections there, and just make sure you go through the ports and just feel for any burrs or anything before you install the piston. This one feels good. I don't feel anything. Awesome. Alright, we'll put that back in the box for now, and then we'll work on the ring gap and installing the piston. Alright, we're going to check the ring gap here quick, just by eye. I can kind of tell now what a good ring gap looks like. That looks good. Very close together. You can see the gap. It's kind of hard for you guys to see it, but it's very small. You don't want it too small, and you don't want it too big. So you can kind of see it in there. And that's fine. I'll quick measure it. A little bit smaller. Right. Right there. 0.152 millimeters, 0.006 inches. So it's on the small side, but that should be fine. Usually these come all good to go anyway, because it's a set, so I don't think you can really change them. And that's the same thing. It's the same ring gap. This can be some high compression, I can tell you that. We'll get these rings installed on the piston. You can see the STD right there, standard. That's going to be on the top of the piston. And then these rings are both the same, so we'll just install these quick on the piston. Alright, just oiled up the bearing. That can go in there like that. Wrist pin. Oil that up. We're gonna get the piston on next. Alright, piston's all oiled up, ready to go on. The ring gap right here goes towards the back, so the pins will go towards the intake. And I already have one of the clips in right there, so we can just push this through. Should be pretty easy. Push it all the way through. Looks good. And we'll get the other clip on there. Alright, I just transferred everything from the old cylinder over to the new cylinder. We got to transfer that and this. So everything's good to go there. Let's install the cylinder onto the machine over here. It's a little different. Alright, cylinder's on, and then just to make sure the piston moves up and down freely, rings aren't stuck. So let's get that bolted down, torqued down, and then we'll get the head on. Right, head gasket going on next. Just using a little wire wheel on the Dremel. Looks pretty shiny now. Head is all polished up. Let's get that on the machine now. Alright, got the head on. We were running into some technical difficulties with the head. It was hard to clear this bar with it, but we finally got it. So we're good there. Gotta get these nuts on now. Right, torque specs are 18 foot-pounds on the head. Alright, brand new plug going in. that is high compression for sure. All right, we'll get the pipe on and then the rest of the stuff on. Attempt the first start. All right, we got the new air filter on, oiled up, and did a new rebuild kit on the carburetor. That's all cleaned out, so we're ready for the first start. Hopefully it starts right up. Turn it on, choke it. Braking her in now. Kind of flipping the throttle a little bit. Started right up, sounds pretty good. Actually stays running, so that's good. And yeah, we just broke it in for about 5 minutes, so we should be good for the first break-in. Second break-in, we're gonna do 5 minutes flipping the throttle again, let it cool down to the touch, and then do it again, and then take it for a slow ride, and then take it for a hard ride, and then that's pretty much my break-in process. So pretty easy. A lot of people go right off the gun hard, and they say that works too. A lot of people have different braking processes, but I like to take it easy the first couple startups and then go hard with it. And I've never had a machine blow up or do anything weird after that braking process, so I trust it. We're gonna get everything back on the quad, all put back together, looking pretty good. Let's do the second break-in. It's been sitting, so it's cold to the touch. Now we're gonna start it up and let it run for about 5 minutes, flipping the throttle. Alright, all put back together, runs a lot better, stays idling, and definitely sounds a ton better. Next video, we're gonna take it for a proper break-in ride, and then really send it, and really break it in when we go full throttle on it. So stay tuned for that video coming up, should be pretty cool. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, until next time, we are out.